John, thank you so much for taking the time.
Well, thanks for having me.
Let me get a couple of nuts and bolts questions out of the way. When did you decide to do this concert for the troops at Walter Reed, and how'd you go about organizing it?
Well, what happened, I went down to San Antonio a few months ago, and I played at the Intrepid Center, and I found myself with 5 hours with nothing to do. So I just kind of hung around and found myself talking to these young guys and about how they felt about the war and their hopes and their futures of what they think's in front of them. And I found it very inspiring, and that's what got me interested in doing this.
Did the conversations change your opinion about the war or the administration's policy at all?
No, it didn't. But what it did tell me is that, you know, the service is as diverse as the American people are. There's some people that, you know, were pretty gung-ho, and then there were some people who were questioning, you know, just about everything that had happened.
Was there any concern at Walter Reed or on any level about having you perform, given the fact that you've been outspoken about the administration's Iraq war policy?
Well, the people at Walter Reed, you know, they're soldiers and they're fine people. We've had, you know, a few conversations about some things that they didn't really understand, but they've been more than helpful, and they've actually been pretty fantastic to deal with. I don't really think that you know, a soldier basically is following orders most of the time. So left to their own way of doing things, they've just really been fantastic.
You know, you're well known for speaking your mind, saying what you're thinking about, not being shy about it at all. Are you going to get political at all during the concert?
Well, that was the thing about, I think that's why we've gone through this without much resistance, is that I did the Intrepid thing, and it was very nonpartisan. I sang the songs, but I didn't get into my personal beliefs. And that's really what this is not about. This is about going down there and showing support for these kids who really don't make any policies, or who are basically following orders, and trying to give them, you know, a good evening for a change.
Well, let's talk about the people who do make the policies. If you had 10 minutes with the Secretary of Defense Gates, or with the Army Secretary who runs Walter Reed, what would you say to them?
Well, I don't think you can blame any of those people, or I don't even know if, you know, when you talk about Walter Reed, listen, all that stuff comes down from the top. These guys are doing what they're told to do, and they're doing the best job they can possibly do with the funds that they've got. I firmly believe that. I know that they care about their soldiers, and they're doing the best that they can with what they're given.
Have you actually ever considered going to the war zone, or going on a USO tour, or anything like that?
No, I'm afraid they'd shoot me over there. I don't think anybody would protect John Mellancamp over there.
I don't know, after you give this concert, I think some people would try to help you out. You know, the Dixie Chicks, they really had a hard time after not supporting the president and speaking out about it publicly. Did you ever receive any kind of the same treatment for your views?
Well, yeah, I did, but not to the extreme that what happened to them. You know, those gals were on their third record, and I think people were surprised at their position, and they just spoke real early, and people were surprised. But with me, you know, I've been around a long time, and I've written a lot of songs about social issues, and I don't think anybody would be surprised that I'm a lefty. I mean, you know, that's where I've always been.
Has the political climate changed enough for you to be able to go out there and do this and speak your point of view in front of, and perform and speak your point of view at the same time in front of all these soldiers?
Well, I'm not going to really speak my point of view. I don't think that's what this evening is about.
Right.
I mean, I think this evening is about singing songs that they may be familiar with, and providing them with a good time. What's
your goal for the night?
What's my goal for the night? Well, the goal is to really entertain the troops, and also to have people who are watching it, you know, it's going to be televised on HDNet, to kind of reflect, you know, of what these kids have given, and what they've all accomplished, and what's been done.
And that's a fine goal. John Mellancamp performing for injured troops at Walter Reed this Friday. Thanks so much for being here, and thanks so much for doing this for the troops.
Well, thanks for having me.